Hit the subscribe button and activate the bell icon for more videos like this. Warning: this content may be upsetting or disturbing to some audiences. There is a part of me that is glad that she is gone. 9 disturbing and sick confessions of Reddit. My wife is losing weight fast due to medical issues, but I like what it's done to her body. My wife has had gastrointestinal issues for about a year and a half now. She's yet to get a formal diagnosis due to us not having enough money for medical insurance. Since then, she's tried to find what foods and eating habits trigger her stomach pains, bloating, etc. Very few things seem to work. Because of this, she downright refuses to eat at times to avoid triggering another episode. This, of course, has led her to losing weight. She's lost over 20 pounds in that time span. She was, by no means, overweight when we met. At best, she was curvy in just the right way. Of course, I'm worried about her health. To my surprise, as she's lost more weight, I've found myself even more physically attracted to her. To add to that, I've found that even though her waistline goes down, her curves stay about the same size, which only accents them more. As she's walking around the house doing chores or helping in the kitchen, I catch myself gawking at her more now than I did before. I know this is incredibly shallow of me, but I can't help what I'm attracted to. It's not like I can just flip a switch in brain to say, don't be attracted to that. Of course, I'll do what I can to help with her issues, but I can't help but stare at her even more now than I did before. I've lied to, deceived and manipulated a lot of people in order to become successful. It worked. This is something I will never admit to anyone in my real life. I was raised in a very abusive household. I am talking about being starved, beaten up, and locked in my room on a daily basis. I was badly bullied at school because my parents did not give me clean clothes. I used to hand wash my blood-stained clothes in the bathroom while my parents were asleep, because I thought if people noticed blood stains on my clothes and figured out what was going on at home, my parents would murder me. At first, I started lying in order to survive. To avoid going home after school. To avoid being beaten up and bullied. I was terrified, alone and desperate, so I didn't think twice about it. Then, as I grew up, teachers found out that I was academically talented. They encouraged me to participate in a few national school competitions and I won all of them. My name appeared in the national newspaper. All of a sudden, I was given attention and affection, 2 things I was deprived of my whole life. Teachers treated me favorably, and the bullying stopped. Some kids actually wanted to befriend me and praised me for my accomplishments, and I, for the first time in my life, felt that my existence was validated. Slowly, I became more obsessed with power and success, since I believed that becoming successful was the only way I could protect myself. I never did anything illegal, because I was not an idiot and knew that the risk would never be worth the reward, but I was willing to do anything that could put me in a higher social status. When I was asked a question, I would give people whatever I thought they wanted to hear, instead of my honest opinions. At college, I manipulated recommendation letters out of professors by lying about my home situation and career aspirations. I lied on my resumes and during job interviews. 2 plastic surgeries, not because I did not like my appearance, but because I knew that being conventionally attractive would grant more power to me. I learned how to change my facial expressions instantly and how to keep a poker face under pressure. I cut underachievers out of my life as soon as they stopped being useful to me. When I was in my 20s and still honing my craft, many people could call out on my lies. But as I grew older and more experienced, I became a much better liar and a more charismatic manipulator, and the results I gained were better than I could have ever hoped. Needless to say, I have many enemies who openly badmouth me and would love to spit at me as I walk past them, but that does not change the fact that I am making more money than all of them combined. I wanted to become successful so I would be treated with respect. So that I would not be bullied and abused ever again. In short, I wanted to become invincible. And I've become just that. So why am I confessing all of this on the internet? Because there's a part of me that keeps reminding me that I am not a good person for doing everything I've done. I am constantly aware of the fact that there are a lot of honest, hard-working people who will rightfully condemn me. I feel that I am inferior as a human being to highly virtuous people, and this inferiority complex is the main drive behind all my social work and donations. But I also know that if I were to go back in time, I would still do exactly the same things. I don't know why. A part of me hates myself for being a despicable person that I am, but another part applauds me for becoming exactly what I wanted to be. After all, I stopped being a weak, hopeless kid whose life and safety were at the mercy of other people's whims, Didn't I? I managed to build a life of my own, in spite of all the nightmarish things and mental illnesses I had to endure as a kid. Still, I have so many enemies that I can never relax, and I've spent my entire life in the survival mood, which is often exhausting and depressing. I would be lying if I said I've never been envious of people with ordinary, simple lives. There are times, more often than I care to admit, when I lie awake at night, reminiscing about rules I've cheated and people I've abandoned. So I really don't know what to think. I don't even know what I am feeling right now. Just needed to get this off my chest. I beat my ex-employer up in front of his family. I worked for him for 3 months, undeclared, and after 2 months he didn't pay me correctly anymore. After a while it was just €100 here and 200 there, and as the good person I was, I believed I was going to get every last cent soon. So I kept working, but he always came with BS excuses like my account isn't working or you'll get it tomorrow, but he always came with excuses not to pay. At this time I really needed this cash, so for a final time I asked him about my money and he told me he couldn't pay me because he had unexpected costs, so I had to wait for a couple more weeks. Tired of his crap, I drove to his house and I rang the bell, and when he opened I gave him a couple of punches and kicks. I keep hurting animals out of anger. I've had a yellow Indian ring wreck for about a few months now. He's always been really snappy whenever someone tries to get him to hop into our finger, no matter the circumstances. If we give him his favorite food, if he's been alone for most of the day, he will still pierce. It started off as a nibble with him but abruptly progressed into a painful stab that sometimes drew blood. I approached him earlier today and the usual happened. He bit my finger, but this time I was so sick of having to deal with his crap when I just wanted to be friendly. It sucks having an aggressive creature in the house, especially when you're so used to having a friendly and lovable dog as a pet for most of your life. I turned on the hose I had outside and gave a quick but hard spray into his cage. I thought it would teach him to be nicer. It doesn't, it just makes birds more aggressive, but I immediately regretted it as soon as I saw him drenched and shivering. At that point I took him out of his cage and he crawled onto my shoulder as I just sat in a chair and cried. I felt so sorry for him, and I hate how I do this with every disobedient pet have. My mind only clears when I realize they're limping, shivering, or just afraid of my general presence. I'm really trying to be more gentle with pets. I can't get hard from women unless it's in porn. I've been doing porn since I was 8. At first I didn't think it was bad until one day I tried to stop porn but could not. So when I finally got the change to be with a real woman, it was impossible for me to get hard. This has put a huge rock on my relationship. Most people want one-night stands, but I avoid them or eat the girl out to avoid sex. I'm now 30 and not been with a woman in almost 5 years. I know if I try to do a hookup, it will lead to embarrassment for me, so I stopped trying. I fear that my addiction will not let me live a normal life. I'm already not social and I work all the time so I can avoid this problem. I just get tired of not having sex because I jerked it too much. I am a survivor of trafficking and was forced into sex work for 4 years. I feel incredibly dirty because sometimes I miss it. I spent 4 years in a sex trafficking ring and forced to do sex work, including pornography, prostitution, escorting and such. Obviously this was a nightmarish experience. I was kidnapped, drugged, raped and forced into doing some very degrading and humiliating things. Eventually I was at such a low that I got to the point where I decided to accept what I believed I was. I was a dirty, rotten and addicted skank and I needed to express that more and more. I became much more enthusiastic about my work and even started to enjoy it. I had nothing else so I might as well be like this. I started to feel that when men wanted me or did a scene that men would see online, or complimented me when I was naked, I felt accepted, beautiful and powerful. I felt like I was a sexual goddess. In the moment I felt that I had such an addiction for this ego trip that I didn't want to stop. Even though I've been incredibly lucky to be rescued, and now free from the lifestyle. Sometimes I miss that feeling for the ego trip and I feel dirty for wanting to go back to something so vile. My mom is forcing me to keep a pregnancy I don't want. I don't want to have a baby. I was dumb and told my guidance counselor everything when we went back to school last Tuesday. I didn't think she would call my mom and tell her everything I told her. When I got home my mom accused me of being a liar and a whore and said I deserved to be pregnant and if it were up to her she would make me keep the pregnancy as punishment for being a sinner and dumb. She also took my phone so I'm updating you guys using my friend's phone. I've been staying with him as much as possible to avoid being at home with my stepbrother. I think he truly thinks he got away with what he did and I think he will because my mom will not let me get an abortion. I don't know what to do. The longer I'm pregnant the more suicidal I feel. I don't want to be pregnant. I want to get rid of it. I feel sick all the time, my body hurts. I'm still having nightmares and I can't keep any food down. I'm so angry and I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to have my rapist's baby. I tried to talk to Planned Parenthood and they wouldn't even tell me any information without my mom giving them permission. I don't know how far along I am and I will probably have to travel out of state because I live in a really messed up state that won't do abortions if there is a heartbeat. But I'm to the point of wanting to use a coat hanger or drink bleach to get rid of this pregnancy. My friend and her mom are willing to take me to one and let me stay with them if I'm able to get one, but I don't want them getting in trouble. I'm going to have to lie to my mom and tell her I lost the pregnancy naturally, but even if that were to happen it would be a blessing right now. If I have to carry and give birth to my rapist stepbrother's baby I will kill myself. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm willing to try anything. I don't want to be pregnant anymore. I just want this long nightmare to be over. I attacked my wife today. Now before you judge me, you need to know the context. My wife and I have been married for 15 years now and it has been hell since our first child. We have 4 kids now, but ever since our first she turned into a nightmare. I am the only one who loves our kids and I am their only real parent. My wife has had multiple affairs, she is incredibly promiscuous, and she slaps me around and is distant to the kids. It isn't uncommon for her to leave for days and then just barge in when she comes home from God knows where. She won't divorce me because I made her sign a prenup. No matter how bad of a wife she is a far worse mother. She ignores all of our children, she refused to hold them, and she tells me on a regular basis that she wishes that I let her get the abortion. She won't go near them when they are sick. She once made my second child wait until 8 p.m. to pick her up from tennis practice. She drinks in front of them, swears and bitches about me, a man who has given her everything to them when she is drunk. Yesterday we got in a huge fight. She slapped me many times during the argument and I held myself together. The kids could hear all of this and my youngest was crying. I brought this up and she couldn't care less. She stormed out and I was relieved. I hoped that this time she would leave for good. In the past, no matter how bad she was, I believed that my kids needed a mother, but not anymore. In the 5 hours she was gone. I dropped the kids off at my mother's, called up the office and quit and called my lawyer to get a divorce. She came home at around midnight and her dress was all crumpled. I knew that she had been having sex but I didn't care. I told her that I was getting a divorce. She then put on her really bitchy Valley Girl voice on and she said in that awful rhythmic kind of voice, "You won't get a dime." The rage inside me was at maximum level and I just lost it. I punched her in the face and put her head through the window. I called the cops immediately after realizing what I had done. She is in hospital in a stable condition. I have fled and am staying in a motel and paid with cash. I think that I overreacted, but I am not at all sorry for what I did. After all of her sleeping around, the abuse of me and my kids, I think she deserved it. I know how much trouble I am going to be in, but I need to know if I deserve it. My daughter died 5 years ago today and a part of me is glad about that. This makes me sound horrible. I know. I would never say this out loud to anyone ever. Though I said daughter, she wasn't technically my daughter. She was my sister's child. My sister wrote it when the baby was around a year old. I was 19 at that time and in college. I got custody. I never wanted children. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to go a different path than the path my family took. But I felt responsible to take her in. So, I dropped out. Took care of her. Loved her. Life was hard but we got by. I was working any jobs I could get and I didn't have any life. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any time to date. I was either working or at home taking care of her. At times, I felt like I didn't even have time to breathe. 6 years passed. One day, her school bus was in an accident. 3 children died that day, including my daughter. I was devastated at first. Depressed. Lost. I was even homeless for a little while. I didn't have any family. I didn't have any friends. All I had was haunted memories in that city. So, I moved to a different city to get a fresh start. Reapplied for college. Graduated. Currently, I am in year 1 of medical school. I got married a few months back. I feel like finally I am living the life that I wanted to live. Achieving what I wanted to achieve. Take a different path. Do something different. Live a better life than my alcoholic father, runaway mother and drug-addicted sister. I loved her. I would have taken care of her like my child if she had lived. I know that. But there is a part of me that is glad that she is gone. It makes me a horrible person. I already know that. But, still I am glad. Thanks for listening. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Click the right box. Let us know in the comments what you think about these stories. Hit the subscribe button and activate the bell icon for more videos like this.